On our last trip to New York, we were lucky enough to go to Letchworth State Park to hike the Gorge Trail from Lower to Upper Falls. We were visiting in the middle of October, so the fall colors were in full effect. If you plan on visiting, just know that the fee collection at the park is kind of interesting. It is $10 to get into the park, but only if you're visiting between May 9th and October 19th, and between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. If you are visiting outside of those dates and those hours, there is no fee to get in. We recommend getting an early start on this trail. This parking lot is going to be pretty packed by the time we get back. Not only is this trail popular, but this park has a lot to offer, and we're going to go over some of it along the way. The trail we will be doing in this video is 4.8 miles long with 1,023 feet of elevation gain. But that is not the trail in its entirety, because it stretches all the way out to 13.9 miles with 2,234 feet of elevation. The section of trail that we are doing takes people on average between 2.5 hours to 4 hours to complete. But as usual, we weren't in any rush and we took a ton of pictures. We ended up taking 6 hours to complete the hike. Fun fact, the gorge at Letchworth State Park is nicknamed the Grand Canyon of the East. It is 600 feet deep at its deepest parts, and it's home to 3 beautiful waterfalls. If you are wondering if you're going the right direction, you can look for some of these little maple leaf markers on the trees. If you want to go to the first viewpoint that looks out over Lower Falls, you need to take Trail 6A. This is known as the Lower Falls Trail, but eventually we'll be heading back up and looking for those red markers on the main trail. You don't have to go all the way to the footbridge that crosses over the Genesee River to get the view of Lower Falls. But everything was so pretty out here that we didn't mind putting in a little bit more effort. Lower Falls is going to be located a ways up the canyon. So if you want a decent photo of it from here, you're going to need a zoom lens. But if you don't have one, worry not, because we're going to get a lot closer to it in just a little bit. After checking out the falls, we made a U-turn and headed back the way we came. As a word of warning, I would not wear my favorite clean shoes to do this hike. Some of the falls make quite a bit of mist, and the lower sections of the trail get pretty muddy. The good thing, at least when we were visiting, is that it seemed like there was always a tiny little shoulder with some hard-packed dirt to get through. With that lower fall viewpoint out of the way, it was time to climb back up to get to the main trail. For a little while, the trail is going to be nice and flat, and soon you should start to hear the roar of Lower Falls. But before we could get to the main viewing area for Lower Falls, we did have a very intimidating river crossing that we needed to do. As tempting as it may be to go off trail to get more unique views of the falls, we highly discourage it. Between all of the foliage and the wet dirt, it would be very easy to slip and go right into the gorge. Another little bit of advice is that if your electronics are not waterproof, you may want to bring a dry bag for them. Things can get kind of soaked if you hang out near the falls long enough. It is now time to start gaining some of that 1,000 plus feet of elevation. The good thing is that there aren't too many sections that are steep hills like this. Usually you're going to be on stairs. After taking one last peek at Lower Falls, it was time to climb up some stairs and dive into the forest. You aren't going to have too many views of the gorge for a second, but that was totally fine because we were surrounded by trees that look like this. As we make our way towards the next viewpoint, here are a couple of fun facts about Letchworth State Park. The first one is that the park is huge. It follows the Genesee River for more than 17 miles. and the park itself covers an area of around 15,000 acres. If you're wondering how it got its name, well, it's actually named after William Pryor Letchworth. He was born way back in 1823, and he made his fortune in the iron business and was involved in charity work for most of his adult life. His charity work included helping the mentally challenged, the poor, and endangered juveniles. He owned the property that the park is located on today, and that's how it got its name. And one more fun fact is that in 2015, USA Today rated Letchworth State Park the #1 state park in the entire country. That's not bad when you consider that there are over 8,000 state parks. If hiking isn't your thing or you have mobility issues, one of the great things about the Gorge Trail is that it pretty much parallels the road. That's really nice because viewpoints like this and Inspiration Point, which we will be at in just a second, have little parking lots where you can stop, get out of the car, and enjoy the views. Speaking of Inspiration Point, here it is. This is one of the most popular viewpoints in the entire park. Chances are, if you are researching a trip to Letchworth State Park, you're probably going to see a picture from here. Things can get a little bit crowded at Inspiration Point, and if you just can't manage to get in there and get your shot, don't worry because there are more opportunities just a little bit further down the trail. As I mentioned a second ago, the trail parallels the road, and for pretty much the rest of the time you'll be hiking directly along the side of the road. Don't forget to look back along the way because this is the view pointed back towards Inspiration Point. This park has a lot going on, and we are heading straight towards the heart of the action. There are cabins, restaurants, museums, and more activities just a little bit further down the road. And there are also tons of peacefully falling leaves. Letchworth is also a great place to visit if you're traveling with your cute little pups and their sticks. Just be sure to keep them on a leash at all times and clean up after them. At this point, you have a bit of a decision to make. You can either continue to trace alongside the wall and the road, or you can make a left and head back towards the gorge. Continuing to follow the road is way easier, but this way is much more scenic. And did you even visit the fall foliage if you didn't do a slow motion leaf throwing video? Even if you did take the fork that went towards the gorge, the trails do join back up again pretty quickly. This is nice if only part of your group wants to do this option because you'll be joining right back up again. We are quickly approaching another one of the park's awesome amenities, and that is the cabins. We would actually really like to stay here at some point so we can explore more of the park. The rates actually aren't all that bad. They can be between $238 and $596 per week during peak season. But of course there are fees, and it's $28 a week for anyone that is not a resident of New York. Here are the cabins. While the trail does trace along the edge of the gorge, for some reason I think we got a little disoriented and we ended up walking through the parking lot. After passing the cabins, we went down a short flight of stairs before we were at even more cool spots. This spot is very busy, so be sure to watch out as you're walking along the road because there were tons of cars. But if you want a little bit of a break from walking, here's where you'll find the museum. And boy, let me tell you, does this museum have a very diverse collection of exhibits. Inside you will find everything from Native American artifacts to the history of Mr. Letchworth and early settlers, and even a dinosaur skull. The museum isn't huge, and I think even if you read all of the informational signs, you'll probably be in and out in about an hour to an hour and a half. We just kind of breezed through it, and soon we were on our way again. The next stop is the Glen Iris Inn, and this was actually the home of Mr. Letchworth. He must have been quite a popular character in his day, because who wouldn't want to stop by and visit a friend that has a big waterfall in their front yard? This is Middle Falls. It stands 107 feet tall and 285 feet wide. These falls put out a pretty decent amount of water. According to my research, they put out an average of 748 gallons per second. But in 1972, this area was ravaged by a flash flood, and the waterfall was flowing at a rate of 673,247 gallons per second. After dropping down some more stairs, we would be coming to the viewpoint for Middle Falls. This is another cool stop, and you actually get to get pretty close to the waterfall. The biggest challenge that V and I had was keeping our lenses clean because of all the mist in the air. This is the tallest waterfall on the Genesee River, and while it may not be Niagara Falls, it's still really impressive. The trail circles around the top of the falls, so you'll get tons of different vantage points. At certain angles, you might get to see vibrant rainbows, and this is why it took us 6 hours to do this trail. One of the coolest possible ways to get views of these falls, which was unfortunately closed when we were visiting, is a hot air balloon ride. These are some incredibly skilled pilots, and I've seen videos of them skimming right across the top of the falls. And the next stop is definitely a first for us as far as hiking trails are considered. There's an ice cream shop here. If you're going to be stopping by, you have to try the Flavor Burst. Not only does it look interesting, but it's delicious as well. With ice cream in hand, we continued on. At this point, we are not far from the turnaround point at the end of the trail, and we're also close to Upper Falls. This horseshoe-shaped waterfall stands 70 feet tall, and it's really photogenic because it has the Genesee Arch Bridge right above it. This is an active railroad bridge, and those conductors must not have a fear of heights because it is 200 feet above the river. A lot of people seem to turn around and head back at this point, but we are all stubborn and we just wanted to see what was up at the top. Just know if you do plan on continuing on, it's going to get steep and there are a lot more stairs coming. But that's okay because we had to burn off those ice cream calories. The climb is worth it in our opinion because you will get more unique views of Upper Falls. And on top of that, this section of the trail is just really pretty. If you are really trying to get your steps in, Letchworth State Park is home to 65 miles of hiking trails. 21 of these trails are numbered, and supposedly there is a secret one. We're gonna have to look into that. And if that's not impressive enough, the Letchworth Trail, which is 20 miles long, is part of the Longfinger Lakes Trail System, which is 900 miles long. I think my feet started to hurt just reading that. If long hikes aren't your style, you should check out our video of another one of our awesome New York hikes, which was the Eternal Flame Trail. Not only is it a shorter trail, but it ends at a waterfall with a natural flame behind it. For some reason, I really wanted to get a picture of a train crossing over the bridge. So when we heard one coming, we all made a mad dash up to the top of the stairs. Even though we all ended up wheezing from the cardio workout, we made it just in time. There's also a parking lot up here, so if you don't feel like doing this hike, you can just drive up and enjoy the view. And this is the turning point, so we are just going to be turning around and heading back the way we came. Don't forget to stop and enjoy the views of the Genesee River from the top of the stairs. These are really cool, especially if you are a landscape photographer. As we got back near the ice cream parlor, a spontaneous car show had started, and I must say I have never seen so many things going on inside of a state park before. If you find gorges to be gorgeous, you should also check out our video about Black Canyon of the Gunnison. This is a really neat spot in Colorado, and even though it isn't lush and green and have fall foliage, it is a super cool spot to see. And if waterfalls are more your thing, you should check out our video about the Trail of 10 Falls in Oregon. That was seriously probably one of the most beautiful hikes that we've ever done. For some reason, the way back always seems shorter than the way out. Maybe it's because I got most of the picture taking out of my system, although I will admit, I still took a bunch of pictures on the way back on this one. But before I knew it, we were back at the car. And look at how much more packed the parking lot is than when we first got started. That is going to do it for our video about the Gorge Trail at Letchworth State Park. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because it really helps out the channel. And for all the information about Letchworth State Park, as well as other awesome New York adventures, head on over to livethatadventure.com.